Take two. The left and its PC movement is in effect destroying the Aboriginal race of Australia whilst pretending to be for it, and we can easily prove this. The constant, it's a political correct, is actually a psychological programming to create a negative effect on the neocortex, so that the only thinking within the neocortex of the mind is all negative and it's all angry and it's emotionally irritating constantly. So then if you reiterate, or say your parents were involved in a car crash, you're in a car and someone was driving out of control, they smash into your car and your parents die and you sit there and you watch this happen. And someone then, you try to get over it and get on with your life and etc. But someone comes every day, you are reminded that you should hate the person that crashed in your car, hate them, hate them, hate them, and it makes you angry every day. The anger and the shock of all that massive emotions of your parents being destroyed is reawoken every day, like you're reliving it every day. Then eventually that's going to cause a mental disturbance. You're never actually going to get over that event. Now what the left are doing, and because it's an industry, they want to import all these things people call experts and put more money in. Now the funny thing is, the more money they spend on Aboriginals, and it's billions of dollars a year for very few people, relatively few people, and the more experts they have, the more deaths in custody they have, and the more people go to jail, and the more breakdown apparently of Aboriginal society. So you can say there's a correlation between all these people us appointing themselves as experts on Aboriginality, when in fact, obviously, there's very little expert in it, other than continuing the negative psychological reprogramming and reiteration of what is negative to their progress, and therefore they've got a regressive psychology created by the constant irritation to their emotions. So when the Aboriginal people get angry or don't eat properly, have a poor diet or drink too much or smoke too much dope or whatever, then it's very, very easy for them to become angry amongst their own, or destroy their women, or they commit crime. They don't have to deal with things or rationalise things with reason, because their mind is full of this anger. And the anger may not be at the original purpose, anger at Captain Cook or whatever it is, that anger at white people settling in Australia or whatever, may not be in their mind when they said lose their temper with their wife or their girlfriend or their mates and whatever, but the constant irritation into their heart and soul then causes an explosive reaction when they've got less control over themselves because they're inebriated or stoned or haven't eaten enough food or whatever. Because if you don't eat enough food, enough protein and vitamin B's and stuff like that, you can become irrational. You don't drink enough water and stuff like that. It can cause you to feel not be quite yourself. And this is, all these things will compound and create within the Aboriginal people the actual reasons why their societies, many of them, appear to be breaking down when there's so much more money spent on them each year. And so you can see that what the left are doing, because it's very, very simple for the Aboriginals to improve their lives. Teach the children manners, respect to all adults, no matter what. Teach them to forgive that the white people here, and there's been benefits to white people coming here, and maybe they don't see that. That's their point of view, but nonetheless, unless you can forgive something, you can't get over it. If you can never be allowed, if the left and all these people are saying do not forgive, do not forgive, do not forgive, they're instilling hatred into people, and that hatred will not damage the white people. It only damages Aboriginal people, but it enriches those people who then are employed as experts in dealing with Aboriginal affairs. Now, unless these experts say, well, you have to do something practical and constructive and creative towards your own survival, like showing your children manners at the table, cooking proper meals, and that's what taking them to school every day, getting them to sit and listen to the teacher, pay attention, respect the police, respect the law. Very basic things, what make us all equal. We talk about equality, right, and closing the gap between the Queen and the poorest person in the world. There need not be any gap other than an income gap. It's only an income gap. Income gap is nothing. Income gap is a peripheral thing, a peripheral gap. The gap is in manners. If everyone's got the same sort of manners and civility towards each other, and if people are chivalrous towards each other, chivalrous towards women, then everyone is equal, no matter who it is in the world. They're equal to the person with the least income in the world. And you can easily go to places, you can go to places in Vanuatu, for instance, where there is no money in those villages. Literally no money whatsoever, no technology either. The people are perfectly mannered, and there's no violence or anything in those villages. And in fact, the British colonised Vanuatu. The British colonised Vanuatu like they did colonise Australia. But are the Vanuatuan people hating Captain Cook? No, they have a lot of respect for Captain Cook, because they're not being told every day to hate Captain Cook. But they have all these things, and this is designed specifically to destroy the Aboriginal race by letting it destroy itself. If you told them just have manners, look after your children, feed them properly, clean up your town yourself, pick up the litter, basic, very, very basic, simple rules of life, then the gap is automatically closed. You're healthier, the kids are less likely to go to jail, they're going to go to school, get an education, and they'll probably have a nice, relaxed life, because they can have a very relaxed life without being wealthy. And having money has nothing to do with how you are in life. It's how you are amongst your peers and amongst your family makes you happy, not money. Money cannot make you happy if your family's all destroyed. So this whole thing about equality and closing the gap, you can close the gap tomorrow just by having manners and being chivalrous and being civilised amongst yourself and towards each other, toward white people, towards white police, and white people, conversely, towards black people. It's just a matter of manners, what makes everyone equal under the law, under the laws of culture. That's all it takes. This idea of close the gap and all the big marches, Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter do not matter to the left, or just using this as a means to an end to destroy the black races and the Aboriginal race in Australia by constantly reiterating hatred constantly into their minds and in through the generations, and it's getting worse. Hate. You must hate Captain Cook, hate Captain Cook, hate Captain Cook, hate Captain Cook. And foolish white people push this stuff as well. So they've got something wrong in their head to do this, to push hatred all the time. They're just tools and pawns in this game. The only way is to forgive Captain Cook. He was just doing his duty. He didn't come here to intentionally disrupt and destroy Aboriginal people. He came here because that was his duty. He swore his duty. He signed a contract with a company. And he had to do his duty. He had no choice. He's just a dutiful person. He's also a humanitarian, a damn brilliant person. But now he's denigrated. And if people had the same integrity, principles, and manners and humility of Captain Cook throughout Australia, then there would be no inequality in the fact that everyone would act equally, in a chivalrous way and with manners. And therefore there'd be no crime, with far less ill health, far fewer single mothers, far fewer people in jail, black or white. It's that simple. So saying close the gap, that's easy. Just have manners. Bring your kids up to have manners, eat their meals, send them to school, show chivalry towards women, etc. And that's the gap closed. It does, as I shall repeat, you can be equal to the Queen or anyone in the world in manners and chivalry, and how you behave. Money makes no difference whatsoever. You cannot close that gap with money. It gets down to parents, an example, and stop filling people's head with hatred, which then means they can't rationalise and deal with their own problems, and they're constantly blaming someone else for the problems that are in their soul that have been put there by the left purposely to destroy the Aboriginal race. The left do not care. Whoever this left is, it's a chimera. The political left is a chimera. They're just puppets. But people with very nefarious ideas about humanity. Let nature take its care of its things. It's very primitive way of dealing with society. Let Aboriginals destroy themselves by pretending to be doing something for them and supporting them. It's absolute bunkum.